Hello and welcome back to part 1D of our Revealed Reality Bible Study series on the Gospel of Mark. So far we've established the context in which these writings, or the four Gospels in the Bible, were produced or written. We talked about the language that was used. We talked about how the Gospel of Mark was the first written gospel that we find, and it includes not just sayings and teachings of Jesus, but it includes all types of dramatic plots and various themes, etc., etc. We've also talked about, in addition to the four gospels that we find in the Christian Bible, there were many other written gospels as well, and we'll talk about some of those gospels at a different time. Now, I want to talk about how we read and reflect upon the Gospels. When we open up the New Testament Gospel of Mark today, we interpret this gospel or this writing in some particular ways. And we've got to understand that the way we interpret this writing is not the same way that the early audience of the writing would have interpreted it. We interpret it through a lens that is over 2,000 years old. We interpret it through all of the debates, all of the arguments, all of the interpretations that this gospel has undergone for over 2,000 years. And so when we come to the Gospel of Mark, we already have some preconceived interpretations in our mind. And those interpretations are based upon what we have heard. What we have heard and been taught are the reflections of over 2,000 years of debates, etc. Now, not everybody in the early Christian communities understood the death of Jesus and his burial, or even understood Jesus to be the Son of God in the same way that we have come to accept it in the Christian tradition. Again, we don't have to work out these formulas and work out these arguments. They've already been worked out for us after 2,000 years, and what we believe now are the traditions that have been handed down to us through the Christian church or through the Christian religion. There are four challenges that we have to keep in mind when we read the Gospels, beginning with the Gospel of Mark. And if we don't keep these challenges in mind, then we will not truly be able to understand what the original author of this Gospel was trying to say to us. So what I'm hoping you can do with me is to strip away all of the theological debates that have gone on, strip away the interpretations that have been handed down to us, and to focus solely on what does the text say and how would the original audience of the text have received and interpreted what the text was saying. Not what we've been handed down, but we're going to try to look at these texts with new eyes, with fresh eyes. The four main challenges that we have to keep in mind as we prepare to read this gospel and study it is, number one, the death of Jesus, which happened in 33 of the Common Era. Those Christians or immediate Christians, they had a very different interpretation of what the death of Jesus meant and who Jesus was than we have today. And then we have to keep in mind the Council of Nicaea, which took place in the year 325 of the Common Era. So we're talking about almost 300 years after the ascension of Jesus. This great council was called to establish what now we take for granted about what we believe about Jesus, who he is, etc., etc. Not all early Christians believed originally that Jesus was the Son of God and is one with God in the way that we believed it now. And then we have to keep in mind the Council of Chalcedon, which took place 100 years after the Council of Nicaea. In the Council of Nicaea is where we established that Jesus is fully God and fully human, and then it was after 100 years where the pendulum swung the other way, where people were beginning to spiritualize Jesus, that not only is he the Son of God, but he doesn't have any human qualities at all. And that's where the twofold nature of Jesus Christ was established at the Council of Chalcedon in 425 CE. And all of these documents are posted on my website. So please go there, www.wtfo.biz, and review those. And then we have to keep in mind from the year 425 CE, at the close of the Council of Chalcedon, through the present age, we have to keep in mind that, again, we all bring these years of baggage as far as interpretation is concerned. We bring all these years of interpretation that have been handed down to us whenever we try to view the Gospels. And right now, we're preparing to review the Gospel of Mark. So let's talk about the death of Jesus. The death of Jesus shapes at least the 4 Gospels found in the Christian Bible. The 4 Gospels in the Christian Bible are shaped by the death of Jesus. And you understand, like I know, that a lot can happen and probably did happen in the 40 to 50 years between the death of Jesus and the first written gospel in the Bible. A lot of stuff was probably added, some stuff deleted. And so when Mark began to write, he again added some stuff that was not in the original story. And we can see how that could happen and probably did happen. That doesn't mean that what we read on the pages today is not true, but it means human fingerprints are all over the biblical writings, particularly the New Testament writings. And so we're not going to quarrel about, well, he's saying that it's not true. That's not what I'm saying. I am saying that this story that started off as an oral story passed down orally from generation to generation and then finally written down, the story has undergone some changes. Is the information reliable? To our faith belief, it is as reliable as we can expect, not having been there in the very beginning ourselves. Let's talk real quick about the Council of Nicaea and how it shapes our interpretation today. But I want to take another quick break before I do that, and we'll come right back and talk about the Council of Nicaea, which took place in the year 325 of the Common Era. We'll be right back.